And there we are. Ready to hopefully finish this thing up. So last time we left off, we came up with the idea, or rather I just kind of took the idea from chat, to have like a bombardier kind of character here in the middle that just like lobs bombs at you. So kind of just forces you to keep moving. Because if you don't, you're gonna get blown up. And I figured that might be a pain in the ass to do. And it turns out, nope. It's real easy to do. So, I did it. I did it today. I made a preliminary version of it. I think it's just in content. It might have just been a blueprint. Actually, no, it was in the spider folder. Let's move the... So we have the bomb tosser. I'm just going to put this in the normal blueprints folder. And then I made a explosive projectile, which doesn't really explode yet or anything, but it'll it'll do so eventually. And then we will... Did I just put that in enemies or in blueprints? Wasn't paying attention. Either way, we have this bomb tosser, which is very much a placeholder, but we can just swap out the static mesh at some point, and maybe I'll make it into a skeletal mesh with some animations and stuff eventually. But for now, this will do. So we have like this thing, which will be tossing bombs in our face, which will be very, very fun. I might make this a little bit more like editable, exposing some things as variables later on, but for now I don't think we necessarily need to be doing that. And then let's see, we had the... Oh my god, I put it in the wrong folder. I put it in enemies. Okay, good. And then we also have the explosive projectile, which is the main thing that we have to like keep working on. So I'll just open up the blueprints for both of them real quick to show off what they are, and then we'll move on with them. So this is literally just a act up that sets a timer every second at the moment. While we're at this, we might as well just like promote this to a variable. Time between shots. And then we have an initial start delay. We might as well promote it to a variable as well, because that's going to be fairly useful. So let's set the initial start delay to something like 5 seconds, and then the time between shots to like 2.5 seconds. So we'll have to fine tune this a little bit, but these are going to be the default values. Then the class that it spawns will be promoted to a variable. Actor to spawn. We might make this a more specific actor reference at some point when we get to it, but for now I think this will do. This could be specifically a projectile, because I have a projectile base, but for some reason I made the projectile base like hard-coded to always have its velocity initially set toward the player, which kind of breaks everything that I would want to do here. So I can't use that quite yet. Because if I want to do that, I need to make a new class at some point for all that. But we probably will, just not right now. So we have all that now. Actor transform, I'm just going to be copying that over. Then we have the explosive projectile, and this is the fun part, right? So we have event begin play, where we suggest projectile velocity, where it will get the actor location, and it'll get the player's location, and it will use the projectile movement's initial speed as the launch speed, and then it just calculates a trajectory in an arc as low as possible. You can also make it as high as possible if you want to favor a high arc. I want to do it just as low as possible to get to the player. And it actually does take into account like all traces and stuff if you want that. So you have trace operations, do not trace, which will just calculate without any sort of collision. Trace full path. I don't know, that seems kind of worthless, because if it's going to trace the full path, at least in this scenario, it'll always overlap with the player, and it will always not shoot as a result. But I suppose if you want to shoot it at a specific location only if there isn't anything there yet, this makes sense. I have this as only trace while ascending, so it only does the trace in the segments of the curve that go upward. And that makes it so that it doesn't like hit the underside of the platforms when it's going up. While it's going down, it can hit whatever because it doesn't trace there anymore, but that's kind of fine. I put in the sprint string just because. And then we set velocity in local space for the projectile movement component, and it does the thing. I have draw debug on for the moment, just so that we can see the arcs that it does the suggested projectile velocity over. I'll turn it off in a moment. And then we also want to accept the closest solution if there isn't a direct hit possible, just so that it does keep like shooting out things. So now we're gone over all that. I actually do want to do one more thing, I realize. So in the construction script, what I want to do is I want to set initial speed. And the initial speed here is going to be promoted to a variable, and that variable will be editable and exposed on spawn. Because then what we can do is in our bomb tosser, when we refresh this node. Oh, that's the thing, isn't it? Okay, so what we're going to do instead is we will BP explosive projectile class reference. It can just be any child of that class, because now it will hopefully have the initial speed in there. So we can set the launch speed of this thing on a per like spawner basis, which is just a little bit easier to work with. And then hopefully, this is, we now have two separate hierarchies of. Yeah, maybe we want to, I don't know. Maybe we want to fix it up right away. I'll do you a promise. We'll fix this up. Like the inheritance hierarchy of this entire thing, if we have any reasonable time left over at the end of this. Sound good? Sound good to me. So, with all that out of the way, we're going to go into the level that we're going to be testing here. And there's not that much more to do in this level, and then once this level is done, we need to make this one. And that's everything that we have left, actually. We'll need to make like one more temporary room that we're just gonna like stuff a key into, because I'm not gonna make the gameplay for this quite yet, because I have no idea what I'm gonna do with it. And this one we're just gonna keep the way it is. So yeah, we're really close to being finished with this. Anyway, level 112. Let's see, 112, boss, that's the boss door. We want to be at 110, wall breaker platform. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Oh, right. That might be. That might be. We just put down the bomb tosser in a place in the persistent level. There's some level streaming volumes here, which make it easy to go in the general direction of the purple dungeon. So that's kind of nice. Oh, we also need to fix it. Okay, so we have a little bit more to do than I thought we did. So that probably does mean that, let's put this in the proper level. So that probably does mean that we're not going to bother doing all that other stuff today. Move selected actors to level. Now we can open up the proper level and start play testing it in there. Yes. All right, so if I start playing from here, it's going to be very dark because there's no lights in this room. That makes a lot of sense. Also, because the game mode for this thing needs to have the BP third-person character as a default pawn class. All right. It's still going to be very dark in here, but the auto exposure might save our ass. Oh, there we go. That does look actually really good when it's this dark. So that thing should be trying to fire out these like little bombs at us. It's not though. Why would that be? Fantastic question. Don't know why that would be. No, seriously though, it should set timer by events. It is running this event, right? Surely it would be. It'll take a handful. Why does it start me up here as well? It's kind of weird. Yes, it runs at hello, and then hello. But it's not spawning anything, is it? Oh no, it's spawning things. They're just falling. Which probably... Oh, no, that does make sense. That does make sense, actually, because we have the launch speed not exposed, and by default it's set to 0. So let's set this to 2000 by default. Because they're just falling through the floor at this point. I guess we can just kind of play from here, right? Yeah, that's definitely a thing that we can do. So it should be shooting, yes, it's trying to shoot it at us. Of course, it's still very much limited by the like speed that we're setting it to. And it should be higher than it is right now, but you can see it is trying to shoot it at us pretty directly. And as we move further along, it'll start shooting it at a slightly like higher arc. So as we try to platform up here, that's still hitting us right now, right? So that works perfectly fine. Matter of fact, maybe even like 1 a second would do nicely. Well, we do gotta kind of stay around here waiting for those. Holy hell, that thing moves fast. Okay, maybe that needs to move a little bit slower. Also, a little bit less. But these things definitely move too fast. So yeah, that's the basic idea. Hello, World of Madness. I think we want to set this to like 3500. I also think that we might want to set this based on the distance to the player. Make it like a little bit more intelligent as well. Can it make it all the way up here? Holy hell. Yeah, okay, so now it is actually overlapping with... Okay, so 3500 is just too much. This is the issue, right? Because this is all velocity based. This isn't exactly linear. So adding just a little bit extra can massively change the range of this thing. So we probably shouldn't just make this based on... okay, maybe 2500 was the one that I needed. So yeah, we probably shouldn't make it based on the distance to the player, because that will be a linear thing, but its power goes up exponentially. If we make this thing explode, it'll be able to reach us all the way like over here. More or less. So that means that even over here, this is going to be like a dangerous place to be at, right? So we have to pay attention to that. And then, oh my god. Okay, I think this actually does introduce enough stress into the situation where like you have to platform back and forth between these, but then you have to make that one. And yeah, okay, I like that. I like the way that this is working. So yeah, now we just get into, honestly, I think all that we really need to do is add in a sphere collision. Make it a little bit bigger. And then we can just begin overlap. And it doesn't really matter what we hit, right? As long as we hit something, we're going to get everything within a certain radius. So we just get like sphere overlap actors. This can be, sphere radius can be a variable. So this will be explode radius. Oh, you do need to have object filters, don't you? Let's just make that array then. So that will be world static and pawns. I don't think we need anything else, right? We don't need world dynamic or maybe destructible. Could be something to that. Let's add destructible as well. Why not? Oh, and then the sphere position will be at get actor location. And then we will, for each loop over all those. Or maybe we can just use applied damage. Does the player character have... It probably doesn't, does it? Maybe it does. Let's see. I don't think my player character has a implementation of receive damage yet. Which probably it should. With this far into development, probably should have done that at some point. Maybe we do. Let's see. I don't think we do in C++. That would definitely be... of a percentage, like 0% or 100%, neither of those. How finished is the game? That's a difficult question, because that entirely depends on how you would measure that. As in, how much of the finished content is in the game? Like 2%. How much of the work has been done? Presumably about 20, I think. A lot of work has gone into like programming so far, and testing and experimenting, which means that there's a lot of material existing that's just kind of incoherent, but there's very little content yet so far. I'm just getting started into like making the actual content over the last couple of months. Okay, let's say unplayable, early alpha, alpha, early beta, beta, Steam release. What stage are you closest to? That's still a pretty difficult question because it's not like like if we have the entire game, right? I think that's not what I wanted to do. I think it's maybe, yeah, if we have the entire game, right? It's not like I'm making this in segments like this where it's just like, okay, we have the entire game is now early alpha. The entire game is now alpha, and that would be the entire game is now like beta finished. What's actually happening is closer to like dividing this up into different slices, at least content wise. And like under this, we still have some like system code. And this is like the system code portion of it is about like probably like 80% done. This is very badly written, but there's probably 80% done. Like mostly the systems are all in place. I just need to like implement scripting with all that code that I've made. But then this is the actual content of the game, and like for this first slice, I am now probably about 25% the way done. Something, again, this is very difficult to write in. Which is the first block out. Then we need to like make the art for it, and then we need to do the lighting for it, and there's going to be like a little bit of playtesting in between that, and that's the other 75% here. But there's 6 of these like vertical slices as well. So this one is that I'm working on right now would be considered probably early beta. Maybe still alpha, depending on how you count it, because it doesn't have graphics yet. But the rest of it just straight up doesn't exist yet. There's one other slice that is probably like 10% done because it has a dungeon layout. And then the other ones are about 5% done because they have like rough sketches done. So that is kind of how like the progression is built up. So saying anything that is like remotely worthwhile about like the entire thing is kind of difficult to say like how do I score that, because I wouldn't honestly say that the game as a whole is like in alpha state, because it's not, because most of it doesn't exist. But this portion is coming along quite fine, and like this bit, the system code bit of it, is doing real well. Like most of that straight up is finished and workable. So I know that that's not answering it in like a simple word. But that's probably the best answer I can give with it still feeling somewhat accurate. So pretty much you have a strong foundation to build your game on top of. In terms of actual gameplay, it's not really done at all. Yeah, that's kind of it. Like in terms of actual game, like I have an entire dungeon that kind of looks like this. Some of it has temporary lighting. I'm not gonna do the proper lighting for everything until the art is in place, obviously. And since Unreal Engine yesterday revealed the most insane updates coming for anybody doing any sort of lighting work in the somewhat near, hopefully, future. It's going to be an experimental feature, but I'm going to use it with mega lights. I'm definitely going to wait doing my finalized lighting until that feature is out, because the ability to add hundreds of real-time shadow casting lights in one scene is going to be very important for a game that takes place entirely underground. What's your opinion on Epic Games making mega scans cost in 2025? I have not been keeping up with that. The only thing that I've seen so far is the new features for Unreal. What was I even doing a moment ago? Oh yeah, I was updating these. So far, the only thing that I've really seen is the new features for Unreal 5.5 in the preview build. As far as Unreal news goes, and those look fantastic. Those I am very happy about. Both nanite skeletal meshes, which makes character modeling so much easier. Because I can get away with just throwing some more geometry at it. I'm still going to be breaking down my normals and all that kind of stuff, but it's somewhat more reasonable to just say, you know what? Just throw another edge loop in there and call it a day. And then Mega Lights, which is going to make a huge difference for me. Other than that, I haven't really seen anything. I think they also dropped their like revenue share from 5% to like 3.5% though. New marketplaces combining Marketplace, Sketchfab, and Banker scans into one giant library will make Megascan cost a fixed amount. I think it was about $1 per asset. That's like honestly fine. I don't personally use Megascans that much. For some materials I do sometimes, but like obviously it sucks when something that used to be free no longer is free. Like that's always a pain in the ass. And we shouldn't like get too used to that, because that's one of those slippery slope kind of thing. Like, okay, if this now costs a little bit more, well, it didn't before. Like, what's next, right? So something to be mindful of, but also not entirely unreasonable, especially since all those like marketplaces are getting consolidated, which is quite nice, actually, in my opinion. I mean, Minecraft has had price increases only, maybe it's got price increase since like Microsoft bought it, actually, I don't know. But it's only increased in price going from alpha to beta and beta to release, right? It used to be like 5, then 15, then 20, I believe. Or was it 5, 10, 15, and did Microsoft make it 20? Or is it even more than 20 now? Fuck if I know. I bought Minecraft when it wasn't beta. So yeah, let's fucking, I was doing a thing. Yeah, I don't think I have a received damage yet. I definitely should. Why don't I? The game even being $20 is nice. No Microsoft there. Yeah, it's it's a kind of a miracle that it's not more expensive. Then again, I also kind of feel like who is buying Minecraft these days? Like specifically on PC, because yeah, whenever a new console generation releases, they release Minecraft for it. So going from like PS4 to PS5, they can sell the game again, which is also bullshit, but hey. Children. Yeah, people, like, new people get born that can buy Minecraft, I suppose. Like, that is fair. But I don't know that the amount of resources that go into specifically only Minecraft make it worth while at all. But the Bedrock Edition has like microtransactions in it, right? So that definitely balances that out. When I think Minecraft, I only know about Java. Yeah, it has rather expensive microtransactions, and I think like some of the maps that you can buy, like you can buy for them instead of just downloading them with Planet Minecraft. So yeah, Bedrock and microtransactions is probably why Minecraft is still profitable. which sucks because it's definitely like the inferior version of the game, right? Because Minecraft is fun because it's so moddable. At least for me, it is. Okay, so we have this damage. I guess with event any damage, we cannot. I guess we can scale the knockback with the damage, but then when the damage gets updated with the game progression, it would also update the knockback. Oh, we actually just straight up have a damage causer. Oh, we can do this. Hold the fuck on. We can make this so much smoother because we can apply gameplay. Actually, what we can do is we can get ability system component from this dude, and then we can apply gameplay effects to target. And the target will be this dude. And then the gameplay effect class will be damage. Enemy damage to player, just normal. How do I concentrate while live streaming? I do not. that's how that works. And then we... How do we deal with damage on the other stuff? It's been a while since I made that. Gameplay abilities, probably gameplay effects. No. Definitely gameplay abilities, but it would be projectile. Display simple animation. Play basic attack animation, that's it. Wait for and deal damage, which is wait for gameplay tag, and then deal damage to player, which is a function. Okay, we set the actor's rotation. Okay, we can't just copy over all this, right? Let's just copy over all this. We'll figure out, because if we can just put this on the player, that makes a lot more sense. So the actor's rotation that we set will just be, well, this actor. Then the damage source will be this, so that'll be going in there. And then, where the fuck did we go? There. Yeah, so I guess we just do this, right? Because this get actor location. Top one is self, bottom one is damage causer. This is an actor, right? Not a controller. Yeah, okay. The controller is the instigator. Has game dev ruined gaming for you? In some ways. I talked about this a few streams ago, but there's a couple of like technical tricks that are just bothersome to me now. You know, in modern games, when you're like crawling through like very narrow spaces, and your movement is suddenly like fairly slow, you're like, why the fuck would any game developer put this in? Because this is not fun, and this happens a lot in this game. Recently, I played Final Fantasy VII Remake. Does that a lot. The Jedi games, like Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order, do this a lot. It's just a modern version of a loading screen, right? It's just like you just entered your level streaming volume, and they just need to give the engine time to load in the next portion of the game. That really, really bothers me. Because I personally, unless you're specifically making an open world game, I like loading screens. I don't mind loading screens. Because you know what? In a loading screen, I don't need to hold forward for the loading screen to actually progress. So yeah, that's a thing that bothers me about playing video games. But that's also just, I'm gonna put these side by side because I cannot be bothered to go back and forth every single time. But that's also because I have this like weird obsession with the idea that loading screens aren't that bad, or maybe modern game developers just have a weird obsession with getting rid of loading screens, depending on your perspective. And then the hit actor. Well, I guess this can just, like, this doesn't need to be cast anymore, because this is just this. Does that work? I mean, that fucking worked, doesn't it? Oh, this might be problematic. Yeah. I guess we don't even need to do that. I think we can just do instigated by. Instigated by. There we go. Where's more compile errors? Oh, damaged gameplay events. Yeah, we're just going to use the enemy to player. Big selling point of the PS5 is the fast SSD speed, so I think a lot of developers use that as a selling point, especially ones on the Sony control. That makes sense. And to be fair, this is mostly with PS4 games. I imagine that this like loading hallway thing that we are all very used to by now might happen a lot less in PS5 games. I have yet to play a PS5 game because there's like 2 reasonable PS5 games that are on PC and I don't have a PS5. But right now I'm playing Final Fantasy 15, which is a PS4 game. After that I might play Final Fantasy 16 because I'm on a bit of a Final Fantasy roll. And that finally is a PS5 game. So maybe that's a little bit better in that regard. We'll see. Yeah, Spider-Man 2 had like insanely fast travel. Like it's honestly just real time. The speed that it loads that shit in, which is like I've seen videos of that. That's insane. Only Sony can market the damn SSD as a revolutionary tech. To be fair, it is a really fast SSD. That's in the PS5. Like it's not just your average SATA SSD that you're hooking up in your PC. Now, is it much faster than a good NVMe SSD? No. No, it's not, but I don't know. I don't run most of my games off of my NVMe. I run most of my games off of just a SATA, to be honest. Okay, I think we finally have this thing working, so we can just apply damage. Actually, maybe we apply radial damage. Ooh, don't often use that function. I mean, I don't mind the idea that people playing SSD or having SSD is a requirement to play games at some point. Because Nanite also needs you to have an SSD. Because it doesn't really work that well without an SSD. Let's promote this to a variable, I guess. Base damage, sure. That needs to be exposed on spawn as well. Damage type, I don't care. Damage radius. You know what I'm going to say. We're going to promote this to a variable. And then actors to ignore will be nothing, I don't think. Yeah. Because I think radial damage already works with chaos destruction as well, right? Like there's something built in for that, maybe? I don't know. We'll see. Let's go back into the bomb tosser and we refresh nodes, and we'll just promote these two variables as well. So this will be explode radius and the base damage. Let's set the explosion radius to like, I don't know, 200. Well, actually, let's set it to 500. And then the base damage, let's set that to like 10. I just need to know whether or not this thing can now damage me when it hits me. That seemed like it did damage me. Or maybe it didn't. I don't think it did. Fuck. Okay, let's try to figure this out. Actor begin overlap. First, before we do anything else, we print other actor's name. Does it overlap with anything at all? Yeah, new GPUs are expensive these days. Okay, so it does overlap with things. Let me think for a moment. I just did a pretty major PC upgrade, and it hurts. It really hurts when you have to do that these days. Like, it's actually just painful. Yeah. Fucking... Specifically, GPUs are an issue. AMD needs to get that shit together and make sure that that NVIDIA has actual competition. So that they can't just fucking price things into oblivion. Okay, so it does all that. So just the damage stuff isn't working on the player side. That's what's happening, right? So if we... It must be... Oh... We might have to set some things up in a moment too. But it also should be... Apply knockback. Yeah, it should also be like forcing me to run the knockback ability. It's kind of weird that knockback is an ability, but it's kind of how I have it set up. Hit me. Why does it say hello? Oh, it says hello every time it shoots a thing. Wait, does it? Did I not? No, I did apply radial damage. Oh. No, wait, radial damage doesn't need to take in a... Hold on, we don't even need to do a for each loop. We just need to do apply radial damage. We don't even need to do sphere overlap, actually. We can just literally apply radial damage. Well, that makes it a lot easier. It's still not going to work, don't get me wrong, but it's a fucking start. We're going to put this just to the side for now, because we might come back to this after all. I just want to... Damage radius... Let's set this to like 1500 instead. And base damage to 100. The base damage total, like, I'm not even using that value, so that's not going to do anything. I just want to... Why is it not applying the thing? Damage prevention channel. Visibility, but that shouldn't... Oh. Maybe it's missing that. Maybe that's important. Oh, and this thing also doesn't have a ability system component, which it might need. At which point the base damage value actually doesn't matter, does it? Yeah, because we're going to be using it from this guy. Ooh. Okay, so maybe we need to do a little bit more programming for all this. Just set up the basic demon attribute set. We'll have to make attribute set tables for like a bunch of actors at some point that I just used the basic demon one for now. But does this... Nope. This does not, in fact, apply shit. Why does it not? Why does it not? Look, we can very much just apply damage directly and kind of be done with it, right? Because we can just apply damage. Put base damage into there. Damage causer into here. Put that into there. That into there. That into there. And that'll fix it. And I think that might be better anyway, because of how we have... Yep, that works. That sure as hell works. Maybe set the explosion radius for this thing back to something reasonable. Like 200. I'm really tired of spawning up here every single time, but that's just how it do be. So yeah, it kind of soft locks me for some reason. We'll look into why that is in a moment. I think that might just be because we're not in the persistent level. I am just trying to get these like little bomb things to work. So how do we do this from here on out? I guess we... This is the bomb tosser. This is the explosion projectile. So we check for world static and pawn. But I don't want it to initially explode when it spawns into the world. Because that would be an issue. So I guess we just add an arrow or a... Can we just add a like empty scene component just for like a transform? I think we can. Yeah, so let's just have it spawn them from... Oh, that's the wrong actor though. But yeah, let's just have him spawn from up above. Oh, that's definitely not what I want to do. Just spawn it from here. And then we can get world transform. And then whenever this overlaps with literally anything at all, we also, like, we do all that stuff. And on complete, we spawn Niagara, system attached. Do we have like an explosion? Pre-made explosion? Simple explosion. What does this look like? I think this is a fluid thing, so it's gonna look weird. It might just be... It's compiling. Hold on. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Location, get actor, location. Oh, we don't want to spawn system attached. We just want to spawn system at location. There we go. Auto destroy, auto activate, and then we just destroy this actor itself. You compiled yet? Yes. That's a good enough temporary explosion. Well, that certainly does what it needs to do. Now the only question is, okay, I know why. I think I know why. Hold on. Because let's see. We're applying this effect, which is set player knockback. So this just sets the player's knockback value, right? And it sets it from... Okay, this doesn't do anything, so we can get rid of that. It sets the receive knockback to the enemy attribute sets knockback value. So that makes sense to me. So do we have these the right way around? We should, right? Yes. Get attribute set. Enemy attribute set. Get at. Can we not just get attribute from that? How does this work again? We need to cast it and then get knockback. That works. I just want to see real quick if we actually do all this first. This will be stuff that we delete later on anyway, so don't worry about all this. Oh, just put this down here. It's a little bit of a mess, but welcome to Blueprint. I just want to see if this thing has its knockback value set to 0. because it feels like it does. It's knocking me back now for some reason. I didn't change anything. It's not playing the knockback animation though, which is frankly even weirder. Yeah, remember when I said that we were likely going to finish level designing today? Yeah, that's a fucking great joke, wasn't it? Well, at least it's... Oh my god, that's a hefty arc. But I guess that's just how it do be. That's just the arc that we need to follow. Scared myself with my own sound effect here. Oh, these are not on the same rotation, so these are actually kind of a pain to... Yep, there we go. that was the idea. I must say, all of those little like debug lines do make it fuck me look a little bit more pretty. It's kind of like I'm making my own art sculpture in real time. It's supposed to represent the pain of humanity. Oh no! Oh no, you don't! No, you don't! There we go. So yeah, I think the access to that blue door up there is going to be appropriately hellish to get to at this point. I think this is pretty good because we have, yeah, all this, then we just fucking make a run for it, and then we can get up here. So yeah, that's all good. Look at all those arcs though, man. Wow. So why does it not play the animation though? Is my next question. Because I did a moment ago, and then I didn't change anything, and now it works. Hold on, but it's not even printing. What the fuck? I don't think it was printing the values, was it? So it's not actually executing that code. Am I losing my mind? It's not printing that. What the fuck? So it's dead ending in that cast. VFX looks good. That's all temporary. How in the world is it knocking me back? Is that just... That must be... That must just be the collision. It must just be the collision, because there's no other way for that to make sense. Hold on, let me just go in here real quick and set the collision for this thing to no collision. But no collision means... Oh no, because it still has the overlap collision. I was going to say no collision means that's not going to explode either. But this should now not knock me back at all, right? It's still... What the hell, dude? How does that make sense? Tell me how that makes sense. Is this... Knockback start isn't running, so it's not knockback start. Like this ability is not getting executed. What the hell? No, actually, what the hell? I'm gonna take a quick bathroom break, and maybe we'll be back in a moment. Well, we will be back in a moment. Maybe I'll have an idea as to what the hell is actually going on here. Okay, let's try to go through this one step at a time. So when we're not applying the knockback effect, we still are getting knocked back. Could that be something to do with me having an any damage implementation in my C++ class that I'm just not thinking of right now? Because that at the moment seems the most reasonable explanation. So let's look at damage. On take any damage. Oh, this might be a damage knockback. Yep. So this is very old code. This is very, very old code. This is from before I used the gameplay ability system, is how old this is. But I still think that knockback equals true is a value that we're using. Surely it's not though, because let's just do it like this and not play too much with like removing the function as a whole. Okay. Yes. That should get rid of at least that little bit of weirdness. Except it doesn't. Why doesn't it? Oh, it's just establishing the link first time. Now it's actually doing the compile, which takes a lot longer because it's a huge ass file. That makes a lot of sense. So after we figure this out, live coding is active now, which might screw some other things up because of like live coding variable names and stuff. We'll need to actually do a proper recompile in a moment once we know that this is the thing that was messing with me. It is cool. Okay. Now we can start looking into why we weren't getting properly knocked back in a moment. Right here. So this cast is failing because we... let's see the damage causer as a print string. Is that for whatever reason empty? It's... Oh, it's the ability system that it's getting marked as a damage causer, is it? Well, that might explain why we're trying to get the ability system from the ability system. That's not going to work, is it? Yeah, that's not going to work at all. No, but the damage causer here is set to apply that itself. Oh no, that actually does add up. Hold on. Because I'm getting the ability system. Okay, so that does what it do. We're trying to get attribute set from that. I don't think that's how we do it. We get all attributes. Can we like find item through that? And then we get, we get the attribute for fucking enemy knockback. And then we get a copy of that. I think this is the way that we do it. So we split structure bin. Oh, that gets you the attribute name. What the fuck? Give me a moment. We'll get there eventually. Maybe. We're just gonna get rid of all this because this literally like does not matter. And what we're gonna do instead is with this knockback value. Yeah, okay, so this is where we do it. Ability system component, get float attribute from ability system component. That's what I needed. Not exactly what I was planning to do, but we actually, like, this should work, right? So if we use this ability system component and then we get the knockback, we can finally print that as a string. That's what I've wanted to do since the day I was born. Or at least since about 15 minutes ago. Okay, so the value for that is 0. Why is the value of that 0? Because we have an ability system, we have the demon, and the knockback for this should be 100. So why you no do? Because it works everywhere else. Does it? Should work like that. There's a default starting data, right? Yeah. Let's just event tick real quick. I don't know why it got rid of begin play when I did that. Sure. So yeah, get all attributes. And then for each loop over those, get float attributes. Returns the value of a attribute from the ability system component belonging to an actor. Sure. I guess that's all done based on names then. And we'll set the duration to event takes delta seconds so it doesn't spam us too much. All those should then be zeroed out, right? Yeah, everything is 0, but it does have the attribute set. It just doesn't apply the values. Why you do it that way? Because I've used this on this type of thing before. Well, I don't mind setting up some code to make this work like otherwise. It's honestly as easy as just like on begin play. We already have a begin play here. Obviously. Duh. Oh, it didn't get rid of begin play a moment ago. It got rid of event tick because it was already somewhere. Okay, that makes sense. Like we can just apply a gameplay effect and like set by color and all that kind of good stuff, right? So it's not like not actually an issue. Like we apply gameplay effects, all that kind of good stuff. But it kind of bothers me that we don't have it working this way because it just straight up should, unless because I'm gonna say unless it's because it doesn't have that attribute set assigned to it. But that's what this should do, I think. Is there any other actor that I have? Yes, the Yeah, the like wall like stomper, I think I called it, or crusher or whatever. Yeah, BP Stomper has an ability system component with an enemy attribute set with the default stuff being all that. Like it does all this, which to be fair, definitely can now just apply damage directly, which is a lot easier to deal with. But it works on this, and this is entirely made in Blueprint. So it's not that I'm missing anything in C++ like initializing stuff. Do I just have this not connected up properly? Somehow? No, it's not on this side because it's actually printing the values as 0 here. So it's not setting the values here. What? Oh. 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 Okay, that was the issue. Different attribute set is needed. Yes. That's my mistake. Hello, how are you? Feeling dumb. There we go. That works. Fantastic. Okay, our bombs work. That was an applause. I don't know how the microphone picks that up properly. Okay. I feel really dumb. But the fantastic bit is that we can just put down a new actor here that just when it takes damage, fucking explodes. Only issue is I think the weapons also use the apply damage function, right? Maybe. Actually, I don't think they do. I don't think I do apply damage on the enemies. Maybe. Let's see how that works. Because I don't want to be able to just mash my way through like this static meshes, but then I guess I can just go into the weapons and change the collision settings on those boxes to ignore certain channels. Yeah, okay, that would work. But before we worry about any of that, what I want to do is I want to go into not play a knockback. I'm fucking PTSD from that already. I want to go into just any sword attack. Go into the sword attack base. That's where it is, right there. When I deal damage to these fuckers, I play montage on them. Okay, damage player, cast to ground enemy base, custom time dilation. Yeah, so I apply the effect in the knockback directly in here. So I don't actually use the applied damage for these. I probably should, because then I can make places where I'm like shooting those bombs out, and those bombs can also damage the enemies, and that just makes the entire thing a little bit more dynamic. But I don't feel like putting all this into the parent C++ class right now. So we're not gonna. Because I don't feel like it. What we're going to do instead is we're just going to make a quick blueprint. And that quick blueprint is going to just be an actor. And this will be explodable actor. And my idea here is that there's not even going to be a static mesh. This will be a it's called a dynamic mesh. Let me check real quick. If I just... Actually, I can just put in any static mesh. There we go. We have a static mesh. Congratulations. If we go into fracture mode real quick, we make a new, geometry collection, who cares? This becomes a geometry collection component. Is that the only thing that matters? So let's fracture this uniformly, that's fine. Fracture. This is not a special type of vector or anything, right? This is just... Oh, it might be. Hold on. Because I did make that... that thing. Okay, so it's just a geometry collection asset. So I guess I can just make a... geometry collection? And then we can say which one, like this. We're using Unity to already finish a game. I started with Unity and I didn't finish the game because I decided to go to Unreal. So, not quite, I'm afraid. Modeling, box. Bullet group added. I'm just gonna do this like the quick and dirty way for now. This is good enough. Can we? This is actually a fantastic question. Can we then change the collection like easily? We kind of need to be able to. I think we should be able to. Okay, let's fracture and we... How do we want to fracture this? Like clustered? Clustered sounds pretty good. Now we need to first make box fine. I don't know why it fucking glows when I try to do this, but sure. Number of clusters, let's put that up a little. Ooh, that might be a bit much. Might be a little bit, maybe not actually. That's pretty good. What if we just do uniform? I like clusters more. What is your game about? It's a hack and slash action RPG. Max size per cluster. Let's set that to like 35. I'm gonna say that this is pretty good for fracturing. There is a thing that we can do to like visualize. Somewhere in here, I don't know where. Ah, there. Okay, we can see all the fractured bits in here. Those are pretty like good chunks, right? Maybe they need to be a little smaller, but for now this is good. So let's go back into selection mode. And then we can just replace it with this. Seems like it. Fantastic. So we'll call this wall. And then when we actually have like a rock to put there or something, we can just easily replace that, hopefully. And then when we receive any damage, we just... Oh, fuck, I made a video about this like 4 months ago. And I've forgotten exactly how it works. So we're going to figure this out together. Is it just like force? Add force at location? No, I don't think that's it. Let's real quick just skip through a video about this, because this is the kind of thing that I just don't keep in my brain. I'll look up how it works, I experiment with it, and I'll lose it again, because I use this fucking 2-3 times in my lifetime. Unreal, Chaos, Destruction. I can look at my own damn video about it if I need to. Like, my own videos are literally so many better thumbnails than mine, holy hell. Mine doesn't even show up high in the search rankings. What is this? I don't like this. I want to show up high in the search rankings. There's a lot of videos about this, holy hell. Well, I'm just gonna grab...
Okay guys, let's get some...
the first random one. I just want to know the blueprint node that I need for this. Yeah, there's a bunch of mass settings, but I don't care about that right now. We can fine tune that potentially later if we need to. This video doesn't even go into the blueprint thing. Sure. Then we do another one. Unreal University. Surely you will show me how this is done. Oh yeah, you're working with all these like fields. That's what it is. Setting up system with FPS weapon. Oh yeah, you spawn a field. That's what it does, right? Yeah, so you spawn...
and hook it.
Okay, hold on. I think we got it. Spawn field. Spawn actor. Of course. Ever used VR dev tools? I fucked around with it a little bit, like 2 years ago. Not too much though. Base field. Spawn it at... Oh yeah, okay, so that's not exactly how I had that in mind. Okay, so I guess the explosion-y thing will be doing that side of things, and this damage... So this doesn't even need to be an actor then, this just can be this thing. Okay, that works. Like this thing can just, when it explodes, spawn one of these at its own transform. Right. I'm going to look up my own video on this, because I don't want to be looking at other people's videos and be searching through it. There's a mosquito right in front of my face. I think I got it. Holy fuck. No, I didn't. Well, sucks to be me. Destruction. What did I call this video? Make a destructible mesh in Unreal. It's fucking 21 minutes long. What the hell is this guy thinking? Oh wait, it's me. Change. You can also change its physics material. Hello, me. That's not going to be confusing for you guys at all, listening to my voice twice. So yeah, I go into like a lot of depth about the different types of fracturing, which I don't need to look at right now. This is all like world-based stuff. I want to do the blueprint-based stuff, right? Okay, so we just spawn a system. I again do not give a damn about that. Let's just go for. Okay, so this is okay. So this is a thing. So we need a field system component to be added to this. I'm gonna close this on my second monitor. So in the explosive projectile, we add a field system. And so with that, we can add a persistent field. Just copying what I did in my own video. And I was like, oh, no, we need to set up the metadata and the field node, right? That's... And activate disabled. That is a lot of stuff to look at. I'm not going to bother you guys with my own voice. I'm trying to make the... when this thing hits the wall, to make it like crumble down as a destructible mesh. It's been a while since I've done that. I literally made a video on this. Okay, external stream. That's the thing that we needed. I thought so. But then setting up like the metadata and stuff. What are those? I just need to know what the functions to make them are called. I don't know that I necessarily care about radial fall off. Being honest with you, in this case. Maybe I need to make that. So let's just, I'm just going to follow my own tutorial on this. And then I can go back later. No, that's not quite how it works. Again, I have a tutorial about this more in depth that I'll actually go over it if you are curious. But what you do is you can take a static mesh and fracture it up. So all the different colored pieces here that you can see are different like fractured bits. So if I go in here and I set explode amount to high, you can see that it Unreal cuts it up for you into all these little bits, and those are held together by the asset collection. And then when you apply a force to it, it can break off those little bits, and then those become like your own meshes that you deal with. Sad radial fall off. Just gonna skip through a little bit because I don't want to waste too much time here. Yeah, that get actor location, that makes sense. Get actor location for the center position. And then I guess we use the fucking damage radius for the sphere radius here, and then the default value. I don't think I said anything else, anywhere at all. Oh, this is field magnitude. Let's just set the field magnitude to like, I don't know, 25,000. I think maybe. It uses pretty high numbers to deal with, which is a little annoying. Probably should make that a exposable thing as well. Wait, is that 150,000 actually? Yeah, okay, so let's just add 2 zeros to it. That might be a bit much, but I think this may be all we need. Maybe we don't need the metadata. Let's just see whether this works. Because I don't want to look through my video too much to get this all to work. We do need to enable field though. What is the rest of this video even about? If not... Oh, this is the mask, I think, for it. I don't care about that. I don't know if Unity is capable of that. I don't know either. I have no idea if Unity has a functionality for this. Maybe it does. Let's see. Show me. You can't. Oh, yeah. There we go. There we go. It do be shooting though. I think it needs a little bit more power to make it over here though. And I think I'm going to give it a little bit more leeway as well. So we'll take the damage radius times 2. Because it has a pretty steep fall off probably. And then we will, in the bomb tosser that we're using... Oh, fucking hell. We also need to update the material for this. Because I think it's just like a fracture thing. Somewhere in here it has a setting for that, I think. Right? Side material. I don't know why it's showing me like that preview material. I don't think it should be. Oh well. We were going to update the power of this thing. So let's add this to 2600, just 100 extra unit. 2650. How long do the pieces stay loaded or simulated? The pieces, they just stay loaded until they are explicitly unloaded. And they always are just physics simulated actors. Effectively, it is just a bunch of actors that stick together until a force is applied to them, and then they just become normal physics actors. More or less. Oh, can I literally just walk into it and break them? Because that shouldn't... that shouldn't... Yeah, that shouldn't be allowed. It looks cool, though. Especially with all these colors being emissive, but that's not... Yeah. Oh, hold on. Is it... It might be because... Hold on. Might just still be because of the... Okay, at least it's not that. So that's good. But I can just walk into them and break them. That's not entirely... yeah, that's not desirable. Hey, is it okay to use casting with interface on actors? If you're using an interface and you're casting, at that point, really, what is the point of the interface? But you're casting to get some value from the character class. Oh, that way. Yeah, no, that's fine. So yeah, casting to things like the character class that are always loaded anyway is not really an issue. And if your other actor needs to get a value from that character, and the character just like supplies a reference to itself, that's fine. But that's kind of the thing, right? Like, if it is an interface and you're casting to the character, you might. Why aren't you just providing a character reference as a parameter to the interface to begin with? Because clearly it's an interaction system, so you always expect the like the sender of the message to be the player character. So if you need to cast, what you're probably doing is sending a generic actor reference and then casting it to a player character. So just scrap that and supply a player character reference right away. Has the same like impact on hard referencing and like loading in the other class. Saves you just having to bother with casting. I did, but it doesn't work. I have to imagine that you just didn't connect something up then, because that 100% should work. If you just put a, like assuming you're using a third person template, if you just use a BP third person character object reference as an input for your interface, and when you like do the like message function call in your input system, you do need to provide a reference to it, and if it's the player itself doing it, that should like be a reference to self node. Like I have one like this. You can just get that by typing self. I'm assuming that might be what you've forgotten to do. Anyway, why can I move this thing by running into it? I don't want that to be able to be done. Could you disable the wall collision for the character? Yeah, I'm looking into that, but you can't just disable the collision altogether, because then you can walk through it, right? So I'm kind of looking into we have density, mass. Maybe if I just like increase this 10 times, it will prevent me from just walking through it. Well, it didn't. So that was not a good start. Let me think. There is a way for me to make this work. I just don't remember what it is. Let me just add like 2 zeros to each one of these, just to see if that changes anything. Because I don't think it will. Yeah, it doesn't. Don't get me wrong, it's still fun. Could it be? No. I was going to say, could it be because my sword is applying damage to it, but I don't think it is. There's a bunch of arrows as well there, but we'll look into that in a moment. Yeah, I'm sure there is some kind of strength value somewhere. I'm just trying to find it, because there's a lot going on here. Maybe in the physics material? Friction, static friction. Restitution, that wouldn't be it. I guess the density? I guess I can put the density up really high. create a wall. What? BHM? Physics material? I don't know. Like if we just set the density to being like 15 grams per cubic centimeters, something like that. Like very big. Very big number. Maybe it'll do it. Yeah, that doesn't change fuck all. Oh, strength. Tensile strength. That's maybe where we go. Isn't that a thing that we just have in here as well somewhere? Nope. So we can get the density back to normal. And then I think the... Like, let's just multiply all these by 10. I don't think shear strength or maybe compression strength actually, but I think it's mostly tensile strength that would do this, right? I'm not a physicist. Fuck me. Still breaking apart. Let's just add a bunch of strength to this thing. Did I actually? That's a good point as well. Did I put the physics material as a new one that I made? Okay, I did. And I can try putting up the mass as well. Yeah, it doesn't seem to change like anything at all. Which is weirding me out. I can still just straight up walk through it. So yeah, we might go a different route with this instead of making it destructible, and we might just make it a wall that explodes into a particle system instead. If I can't get this to work, because I don't want to spend too much time on this. Unreal, chaos, destruction, wall breaking when walking into it. Let's just actually ask ChatGPT, because again, this is one of those things where it's just context sensitive enough that being able to put it in ChatGPT is probably best. I already have all that, but I need it to not break when I walk into it and only break when I apply a field to it instead. Okay, adjust the collision settings for your geometry collection. Oh, it might just be, oh, that's maybe... in the details panel, locate the collision settings. Do we have that? Because I feel like you might just be lying to me. Collision type. Yeah, you're just lying to me, ChatGPT. Okay, we're going to do this differently. Collision settings are only in actor blueprints. No, that's not true. You see them in actor blueprints because you, like if I go in here, it also won't be there. It's because certain components have them. But oh, they are actually here as oh, it's because the component has it. You are right. The yeah, that's the one I was looking for. The asset doesn't have it. It's a component thing. So then this is destructible. Fucking query and physics. I guess we block everything. But that's the thing, right? Because if I tell it to not block the player, I can still just walk through it. I wanted to. Maybe we don't have physics collision on it, but when we apply a field to it, it'll still break apart? No. Yeah, but look, if I put a pawn to ignore, I'm gonna walk right through it, which also is not what I want. So that doesn't actually help me. Like, it doesn't break now, but like this does in no way actually help me. Maybe we want to do physics only? But that doesn't make sense. Yeah, I think we're going to stop wasting time on this, if I'm being real with you. And what we're going to do instead is I'm going to go back into... when we hit this, we're just going to make it fucking explode the traditional way, which is make it disappear and spawn in particles with debris. Because I can't be asked to figure this out otherwise. I think it is possible to get what I want, but fuck if I care. Where did I put the BP, third-person character, explosive projectile, bomb tosser? I think I'm pretty sure that I made a blueprint for this, but we'll just make a new one. Wall constructor, BP wall. I don't know. Let's make it only blueprint classes. Yeah, here, explodable actor. Where did I even put it? Well, it lives in blueprint now. Yeah, so we're just gonna put this right down here. And this is just when it gets applied damage, it's just going to delete itself. So receive damage. Destroy actor. And then it'll also spawn a particle system at some point. Dude, what the fuck? Yeah, you got me. Yeah, I obviously also need to make this a static mesh instead. That makes sense. And then we had that block there a moment ago, didn't we? I'm just going to make a new one. Let's just go into modeling, box, align it like that. And then 1800, 1900. 1900 is good enough. Oh, hold on. No, that's too much. That definitely should be pivot location isn't. Oh, that is why. That is why. That makes a lot of sense. There we go. What does damage mean to Unreal Engine? I assume it's a default no. Yeah, damage is just a pre-built interface that you can use to, like, well, deal damage. So on any actor, you can fucking. I don't really have a place where I have a reference to an external actor easily available, but on any actor you can apply damage. So you have just apply damage, point damage, radial damage, or radial damage will fall off. Those are a couple of different like damage options you have. And then when you apply damage, you can send through a amount of damage to apply. And then when you receive that damage, you have a handful of different damage events as well. So any damage will run with any damage. Point damage specifically with point damage. Point damage has like directionality information to it as well. Radial damage has fall off information to it as well. And any damage will just be this one. And you can get the damage value that you supplied on the other side out of it here. Again, it's just kind of like an interface that's pre-set up. But as you can see here, it has a little server icon. So it's also pre-built to like replicate itself across servers and stuff. Okay, now that we have this without me fucking up, let's explode the actor. Boom. Oh, that's less than ideal. You know what? That's actually not too bad. So, attempt number 50. When it hits it with a bomb. Why didn't they do anything? It's not applying damage to it, why not? Why not? Static mesh. Because it thinks it's a world dynamic thing. Yeah, you're not. You're very not. Go back to world static and stay there. There we go. That removes it. Cool. And then of course we will spawn system at location. This explosion, I don't really care. Get actor, location, rotational skill, don't really matter. We'll update that at some point in the future when we actually have the assets for it. Just need this to be... Okay, I didn't actually spawn it in because it... Oh, that's... So much going on here. First and foremost, get rid of all this stuff. We don't need any of this shit anymore. Bye. Yeah, so that one doesn't work because it is a fluid sim thing, and those are a little weird. I just mess around with those and now they're in my projects. I guess we just do another like simple explosion for this one. And we'll just set this to like 3 times the scale for now. Just so that there's a little bit of feedback to it. But this will have like a... Oh. Fucking good enough. Okay. There needs to be a little bit more to it than just this, though, I feel. To progress in this room. Because we have this entire platforming thing to come up to this area over here, and then all that we need to do in order to progress through this door is just stand in front of it and not get hit. Which is not great. Why didn't this appear with World Dynamic is because I am in this explosive projectile. When it hits something, it does a sphere trace overlap, but it only does it on World Static, Pawn, and I guess Destructible originally, but I could just set this to World Dynamic and it would have also worked. But there's no reason for that, honestly. Like, it should just behave as World Static for the most part. Okay. Let me think. What could we do to make that a little bit more interesting? I don't know. We want to make it a bit more interesting, but we don't want to make it like overly difficult and tricky to get through. Oh, what we do want to do, before I forget, is in the level blueprint, we want to check if event has happened, door opened. We definitely want to just delete this thing. So if we come through here, when we've already done this once, it's not going to be respawning that door or that like rock, whatever it is going to be eventually, every single time, because that's going to be a fucking pain in the ass if we have to do that a million times. So yeah, now it doesn't spawn in because it thinks that we have let me check. Door opened here. Is that true? But if it is set to false, it is there. It already does that. It already aims the projectiles at the player. So when the player is up here, it will shoot it up there in an arc. Like, it's always aiming at the player already. Honestly, I mostly made this projectile thing to make the platforming more difficult. So that if you stand still for too long while platforming, you're going to get bombed. And then I figured we can actually also use this for opening up that door. But now it feels like opening up that door, which is the main route, is maybe a teeny bit too easy. So honestly, maybe we'll just swap the doors around. Have the main route toward the boss fight being the platforming. And then the optional door out of the dungeon can be down there. That also makes a little bit more sense that the door out of the dungeon would be blocked. Yeah, let's just swap the doors around, because then it's not that big an issue that this is very easy to like unlock. It doesn't quite follow my little bit of a rule that I set up, where the route to the boss fight is always going down. So that is less than ideal, in a way. Oh, and we also have the issue that if you come into here from this door, while not having been in here before, you're gonna be locked behind this. But that could actually be fun. Like, if you enter through here, through the blue dungeon, you're like, what the fuck even is this? And you leave. And then if you enter through here through the purple dungeon, actually I think that's quite fun. That's not even a problem. Yeah. That solves my entire level design related issue without me having to do anything. Well, easy bait. There's always going to be a save point before the boss fight, and once you've beaten the boss, I don't think it'll be fightable again. Not in the main game mode. If like when the game is finished, I might add in like a endless game mode, in which you just like cycle through enemies and then bosses come in as well. Maybe I won't do that because some of the bosses are pretty like area specific as well, so that might be difficult to put into like a more generic arena. I don't know for sure. And I also have this idea where the final dungeon, after you beat all the dungeons, is just beating all the boss fights with more aggressive AI and higher stats before going into the final boss as well. And I might make those refightable instead. Not entirely sure about that yet. I don't know that it's really necessary to make like future visits to this room easier to go through, because I don't see a reason for you to come back here after you've gone through here once. The only reason that you potentially would have is if you go in here, try the boss fight, decide it's not your time to fight the boss fight, and you want to come back later. Because once you've beaten the boss, well, actually, there is a reason that you could come through here twice. Because you could enter the boss room and figure out that the boss isn't unlocked yet. That is a thing that you could do. I don't know. It's not like you're going to be walking back and forth in this constantly all the time. So I don't know that it is necessarily like a big issue that you have to platform up there a couple more times, personally. Oh, no, actually also start down here. That's quite nice. And the platforming is pretty basic. You have that thing like constantly shooting at you. Which even this is not that bad. It's just you need to like kind of pay attention to it while you're waiting around. Okay. I'm doing a very bad job at explaining that it's not that bad. Like all that you need to do really is like jump back and forth between these two platforms until you can make it up here. And then like this jump is a little tricky. But then as you're on this platform, all these things are going to miss you. And then here again, if you're not on cycle, you just jump back and forth. And this might be slightly tricky and dangerous because you can get like knocked into a flame from a bomb, which is not great. But then you're up here and you can leave. Maybe also use the empty space in the middle. That's kind of the thing though, because the more empty space I use in the middle, the less you'll be able to like have this thing make its shots towards you while you're on the outside. Because if I start putting in like platforms, I know that these are just randomly placed in, right? But if we start having like a lot of stuff all over the place around here, suddenly this like little bomb tosser is going to have a real difficult time hitting you. Which could be cool, which could be fun. As a little like, oh, if I stand here, he won't be able to hit me. I guess this doesn't really... Let's just with these randomly placed ones, let's just see how it impacts things with like the trajectory. Well, it actually does a pretty good job. What about first platform sliding in and out of the wall? That I could maybe do, yeah. Frankly, this is just a connecting room that connects up things a little bit. Like this isn't meant to be a particularly like intensive room. We already have an entire room in this dungeon that is dedicated to like more dynamic platforming. And oh fuck me. So I don't know, making these move in and out might be a bit much. So I think I'm going to leave it at this. It feels a little bit empty, but I think that's fine. Matter of fact, maybe it feels less empty if this room were taller. But if this room is taller, we really are going back up a lot, and I don't want that. So I think we're going to just keep it at this. Yeah, let's just say that this is pretty much like good to go for now. Might come back to this later, but I think I also just want to see some people like playtest through this level to see if they have trouble with this as is, because I feel like people might already have some trouble with this sometimes. And if I make this more difficult, it's going to be really annoying. Like at that point, going to this 2 or 3 times feels like it might start getting a little old. But maybe people just blaze through that level way too easily, and I do need to make things animate in and out a little bit more. So we'll figure that out at some point. For now, let's move on to making the block out of the last little room that we have to work on. Wait a second. What the hell even is this room? Why is that in there? Oh, I don't care. Let's put this on unlit real quick so that I can see things a little bit better. Okay, so that leads us into this room, which leads us, which doesn't need to do anything particularly special, which leads us into this room, which is the end of the dungeon, and into this room that does not yet exist, but that's just going to be a placeholder room for the moment. is there a rule to divide game levels, or I don't think there's a general rule to divide game levels. Like the concept of a level is so like nebulous anyway. These days, like what even is a level? That I don't think it really matters. Like I have very specific, very strict levels in my game, where like one level goes into the next, goes into the next, but that's just because I wanted to be somewhat more of like a retro feeling thing, like a PS2 feeling thing. Oh, I can just delete this one. A part of the idea of this game is, what if PS2 games looked the way we felt like they looked back in the day? So I'm trying to conform to what a PS2 game would feel like in terms of like moment to moment scale and moment to moment feel, but with like good lighting. So my levels are all fairly limited in their size. Like this is one of the biggest rooms in the game. It's fairly empty, but no art yet, you know? And there's not that much going on here other than going down here and beating up some enemies. Then we have like another one of the bigger rooms is the platforming room that we worked on last week. Like this one is also fairly big in some ways, right? There's quite a lot going on, like a lot of branching paths here, but it's still actually fairly small. But that's specifically because that's how I'm making my game. A lot of modern games don't really have this sense of levels anyway, especially since open world is such a popular thing these days. 111. But for me, what I generally do for levels is I have a couple of different types of levels. I have challenge rooms, which specifically are made to challenge the player. So you can see that like this is the platforming challenge room, and you can see there's a lot more happening here in terms of platforming than the room that we just made, and it's a lot bigger. So everything in this room has to do with platforming. We have a path that leads you to some experience. We have a path that leads you to a external room, which goes into like a room where you can just level grind. And then we have a path that leads you into the key, which you're looking for the key to unlock the door to the boss fight. 3 keys total. But then we also, like that's a challenge room. Technically, this center room is also a challenge room because it has a combat challenge down there. But this central room also works as what I call a hub room. And that is a room that connects multiple paths together. So if we look at this from the top view here, this is the hub room for the entire game. So this is where all the separate dungeons are gonna like connect up to each other. And then they also connect up in some other places. But like this is the central room of the entire game. Then you come into here, and this room exits into both this room and this room. So it's kind of like a split. You can either go left or you can go right. And this kind of has the same thing, but the other way around. So you can either enter through the left or enter through the right, and then you probably exit through like the north. But they kind of fall within the same category for me, which is rooms that have multiple entrances and or exits. So rooms with at least 3 doors to them. And then we have connecting rooms, which are just hallways. You can see this is just a hallway with some twists and turns. This is just a hallway with some twists and turns. But this box over here is also just a hallway. It's just a hallway that goes like a lot more vertically and fills a more like box-filled shape. But we kind of zigzag through, and essentially at the end of the day, this still is just a hallway with extra steps. And the room that we were just in, this one, is effectively also a hallway because it leads from this door to this door. You might say, hey, it also has this door over here. This is an optional exit to a different dungeon, so I don't really consider that to be like part of the dungeon's design in that way, or the room's design. It's just an extra little thing, which I think actually my maze that I have a maze somewhere in here, is a better example of that, because that maze works as a double hallway. This is the maze. You enter through most likely here, and then you have to make your way through this maze. There's some like obstacles here, things that you can platform, or not even platform, just run between some enemies in there. And then eventually you make your way through this door, and that is a maze. A maze is just a hallway that you can get lost in. Then we also have this entrance over here, at which point the walls of the maze become your flooring to jump over to here. So this is just two hallways. This is just two connecting rooms that exist like on top of each other. Anyway, are you using the game instance to store your main variables, or do you just game save blueprint? I don't know exactly how it works. So the reason I have everything inside one persistent level, and I'm streaming in and out all these levels. If I just play the game in this persistent level, you can see it unloads everything in the game. And when I start a new game, it will... Oh, that's quite loud, actually. It's not that loud for you guys. It's just loud for me. Hold on. It just loads in the level that I'm in. So right now, at the left side, you can see that 01 starting room. And then it crashes the game. Okay. That's probably because I still had live coding active. And it was freaking out because of that. So because of that, my character exists in the persistent level. Oh, yeah, I need to do all that. My character exists in the persistent level, so when I go to a different level, my character doesn't get unloaded and reloaded in. That's the whole reason that I set up my level loading system the way it works, so that my character can actually maintain its own existence, and I don't have to like offload data for it and unload it back in at the start of a new level, because that is just a whole headache that I don't like working with. So since everything is within the same game mode anyway, for the most part, I can just plop everything into a persistent level. And added benefit to that is that I personally like the idea that the dungeon layouts make some approximation of physical sense, right? I talked about this a little bit earlier today, I believe. But I like the idea that when you enter a room, or when you exit a room through the left side, you enter the next room through what feels like the right side. Hopefully, that'll help with... oh, I didn't save those changes to the colors. That's annoying. Hopefully, that'll help with the general feeling of like ease of navigation, because there will be some type of like intuition to 4 lefts make a right. Correct? And if the physical layout of everything also makes sense, I don't need to have those two selected. If that also makes sense, those 4 lefts will indeed make a right, because the dungeon physically, like, properly connects up to itself. So that's another reason that I'm stuffing everything into the persistent level, because then I can literally look at all the different rooms that I have here and see whether or not they make physical sense. And you can see sometimes there is like a lot of distance between them. It doesn't come to like a pixel perfect lineup, but for the most part, like the general shape of them, I feel like I should have them lined up. Okay, there's something else wrong. Let's look at that. I don't think we're going to make the staircase today, to be honest with you. But there's nothing too important there. I'll probably just do that tomorrow on Saturday on my own time. We've already made one of those T hallways. It's going to have another little hallway next to it, but it will take about 15 minutes to do. We'll see. Like, what even is the error? I probably should have been looking at that. Okay, let's take a look at that because that's gonna actually be an issue. Starting room. It tries to load in 02 combat tutorial. That makes sense. This tries to, yeah, no, that should do that should work. Why doesn't it work? That is a fantastic question. Oh, I know why it doesn't work. I always do this. But because I was testing a level before, I changed the game mode. Well, I didn't change the game mode, but I changed a setting in the game mode. In the class defaults, I set the third-person character to the default pawn. And that means that there's 2 pawns in the game, and it doesn't like it when I do that. So, again, now that that is fixed, when I go through here, you can see it loads 02, which has a little bit of a cutscene. And then I can murder this dude. There we go. Pick up the experience, because I'm greedy like that. And when I go through the next door, it'll load 03, and then 04, 05, whatever the doors are like lined up to. So again, 02 unloads, 03 loads, and it just physically moves the character that exists in the persistent world to the location of the arrow that corresponds to the next door that it loads in. So what it does is it has, this is just for my convenience, it has a variable here that is the name of the level that it should be loading. So when I walk into this, it tries to load a level with this name, and then it updates some variables to know, which is, I think, in the game instance. But it could be in a game mode or whatever. Doesn't really matter where I put it. To check the level that you're currently in, so that it knows where to put you in the next level. Because it's going to go through all the doors and check, hey, which door leads to the level that you just came from. And then it's going to put you at the arrow of that door in the location or the direction even that the arrow is facing. So that's how my level loading works. Very long story. Let's real quick try to make that T-split hallway. Because it should be fairly straightforward and easy to make this now. Let's see, we exit through here. So this will be 111. Obviously, this isn't recommended if you have a complex game with detailed levels. Also for your Unreal Engine usage. Not really. I mean, this works on a pretty great scale, I would say, because you can just toggle off the levels that you're not working on at the moment in your own Unreal Engine. That's why I have these separated into like their own different folders, so that I can like turn off and on entire dungeons at a time. And I can also, if I have an entire dungeon turned on here and I'm like, it's using a little bit of memory, which in my case isn't really that big a deal because I have way too much system memory, but I can just still turn off all of these things. And as far as like in-game performance goes, it only loads in one of these levels at a time. So it actually has pretty good performance. You can like pack a lot of stuff into this. And if you want to, you can even then use streaming volumes like I have in this. Like here I have it for Oh, hold on. In this level, I have streaming volumes set up for like sub levels, mostly for gameplay purposes. Otherwise, like this little pusher pushes through the wall here. But if you have like a very big complex level, you can also just set up some streaming volumes within that level to like load in sub parts of the level as a whole. So you can pretty much use this method as much as you like, I would argue. It kind of depends on how much data you're trying to carry across two new levels. Sometimes it might be more convenient to just load a new level as just an entirely like separate level, just by open level, using that function, and just carrying over a couple of bits of data, especially if you're making a single player game like me right here. Maybe putting some stuff in the game instance as well is a nice way around that, but like relying too much on putting things in the game instance is also not great because if you at some point do want to make something multiplayer, that's not going to fly. If you have both indoor and outdoor areas, I mean, it kind of, obviously it depends on your game, right? Some games this just won't. Didn't I make this purple? Some games this won't work as well for. But for the most part, you should be able to do this with indoor and outdoor areas as well. It's just you would need to put your skybox for the outdoor areas in the streaming levels, which makes it extra important that you don't load two of them at the same time. And that might be a little bit annoying in like when you're just going through and you have multiple levels loaded like this. The fact that it also has multiple skyboxes loaded at the same time. And there's some things like I ran into at some point using the like hot swapping features that Lyra. What the fuck? Oh, there's a door. Okay, that the Lyra project has. It has like those dynamic mesh actors that you can like hot swap out for the static mesh actors that they correspond to, like that system. It doesn't like doing that with streaming levels. Like it kind of loses its shit when you do that. So certainly there's types of games and types of development where this doesn't really work all that well. But I'd argue for the most part, this is a pretty pretty decent workflow for most people, I would say. Hold on one moment. Okay, never mind. I thought I heard something weird. And you might be able to. But I think OBS is filtering it out as well. Okay, let's go back to unlit mode. Did I accidentally copy the orange color? There we go. Okay, let's move this fucker. Because you are gonna live over there. But like a lot of open world games, as far as I know, do something similar where they have like the big open world, which well maybe not with Unreal Engine anymore actually, because that has world partition. The big open world will be its own like big level that uses world partition. And then I think when you go into like sub dungeons, it does just load in an entirely like new level, because world partition doesn't deal with level streaming particularly well, I believe. So that's one of those games where, yeah, that probably wouldn't work that way. Yeah, you wouldn't want to make a big open world game with just like manual level streaming volumes. That would be fucking insane. Don't do that. That sounds like a recipe for disaster. Is this 50 units wide? Go fuck yourself. How did actual PS2 games work? With a lot of depressed developers. For the most part, I think is the answer to that. A lot more optimization in a lot of places, that's for sure. Like a lot of the things we do today, specifically with like lighting and stuff, so much of the lighting you see in PS2 games is all pre-baked shit. Like there wasn't a lot of dynamic lighting in a PS2 game, like at all. And if you had a character with a shadow, no, you didn't. Most shadows in PS2 games are just a round texture that gets projected down from the player position onto wherever they might be standing. That kind of stuff. But then you also have to like change the transparency of that as and the scale as the character is closer or further from the ground, to mimic the idea that the shadow is like sharper or like more blurry. It's a whole bunch of tricks that are just a pain in the ass, and these days we just straight up don't have to do, and that makes me very happy because there's plenty enough work to do without having to worry about all that shit as well. As you can see with me getting mostly distracted on these streams, but also like doing a lot of stuff. Yeah, PS1 games are even worse because they don't even have like the texture budget to allow for one more circle in there. Because for the most part, PS1 games didn't have textures. Well, that's not entirely true, but like a lot of PS1 models were just flat shaded without textures, and textures were mostly used for backgrounds, which is kind of neat. Definitely creates an interesting look. That's hold on, one moment. And I'm back. I noticed there were a couple of mice running around my place, so I like really closed off the areas where I figured they were coming in, and now they're like scratching at that. Probably very, very confused as to, hey, we used to come in through here. What the fuck is happening? But it's a really annoying sound, so I just had to scare them away. Hopefully they will stay away. Probably not, because mice are the worst. Anyway, what was I doing? I was adding staircases. There we go. Okay, let's turn this 180 degrees around. That's kind of annoying that the staircases are aligned like this to the top. Then again, I guess it's not that bad because I can just put this over here. Fantastic staircase. It's got minuscule steps. But if we just move this entire thing down, I don't know, like a couple hundred units. And then move this back up that same amount. And then we just give it a lot more steps. Like that. That kind of does what it needs to do. Before we start copying this staircase over, let's make it purple. Because everything needs to be purple, even in the block out, for some reason. Like, the color theme of this dungeon sure as hell is purple, but that doesn't mean that purple is the only allowed color. You know what? Actually, let's just immediately start making progress in the direction that we want to go in, because I want to go in this direction anyway, so I don't know why in the world I'm just not immediately going over there. I guess because we spawn in this direction, but that's the thing. No, we fucking don't. That's why I made this thing. For ease of design. Just like this. That said, I don't think we necessarily need to go all the way, like, that far down, maybe. It's fine if it's a quite long staircase, but let's maybe make the staircase go down, like, all the way through here. And then down to... Let's make it go down to about the same level that we were just at. Is that reasonable? Of course, it's going to need significantly more steps again. 200? I don't know, we'll see. That's kind of one of those things that are going to change when I put in the art anyway. Nothing wrong with uniformity. I can tell that my brain is shutting off because I don't even remember what that is in reference to. I'm sure that is a very insightful response to something that I said, but I, for the life of me, couldn't tell you what. So if you would like to remind me, so that I can make myself sound stupid in whatever way might be relevant, I would greatly appreciate it. Oh, you were saying the block art needs to be the same color. Yeah, it's like the colors, the dungeons are all going to be color coded, right? So everything you see here is purple, and I'm not just arbitrarily picking purple here. It's because this dungeon is color coded as purple. So the colors are all going to be color coded as a wheel. So you might have noticed that some doors in this lead to the red dungeon, which is going to be over here. And then the blue dungeon is going to be over here. And blue bleeds into green. And red into fucking something. Don't know the top of my head. Probably yellow? Like red into yellow into green, I think. We have purple, blue, red, yellow. I think we have yellow anyway. Maybe we have orange and red? I'm assuming there's an orange one in there to bridge yellow and red. I have all of this worked out in like design documents, don't worry. But this is all going to be purple. So everything that we've worked on here, right? Like all this, there's going to be 6 of these. My life is going to be a living hell working on all this. So if you guys want to like share my videos around and make sure that I can like make some money so that I can put more time into this, because this sure as hell ain't my full-time job, that would make things go a lot faster. But aside from that, I do just enjoy hanging out and goofing around, honestly, so I don't mind it taking a while. Let's just put down the T-split here. The upside of having to do it this way is that going down all this does probably feel a little bit more epic and more like you're going toward a boss. So that is a nice little benefit that we're getting here. That actually will be a staircase as well. A staircase that is significantly less long than this one. I mean, I enjoy live streaming my work. It's not particularly the most efficient thing for me as far as like work hours goes, obviously, because whenever I live stream, I end up getting quite distracted. But I do this because it's fun, and also, like, initially I started doing this because at least that way I'm working a minimum of 5 hours a week, and in that 5 hours I get like 3 hours of work done, but I'm at least working about 5 hours a week on the game, even in weeks where I'm like really busy. And that is because it has a pretty like direct benefit to like the YouTube channel for like, I don't know if this is interesting to anybody at all, but like live streams do pretty well because they generate a metric fuck ton of watch time. So like, okay, this is actually productive for the YouTube channel to do, and it's also productive for the actual game creation, because of course I'm progressing with the game. So it'll force me to work on the game at least a certain amount per week. And then on top of that, it's also good for my analytics. So, yes. How's really do stack up? It really does. If everyone deposited something, they eventually 1% at time eventually gets 100%. Yeah, exactly. So, and there's the thing that, like, I don't make content that is quick and easy enough to easily make something that can have a runtime of like 4 hours. Like when I upload like full course upload compilations, those run into the like 3 to 4 hour range usually. But that is usually like a month worth of work combined into one video, if not more. Just sitting down, doing some stuff, goofing around in Unreal. I can do that twice a week without too much trouble. And Here's the real kicker. If anybody gets this stream recommended to them while they're asleep on autoplay, especially if they're YouTube Premium members, holy hell, that is the fucking jackpot. Because YouTube Premium subscribers pay out based on watch time. And a normal YouTube Premium subscriber, or viewer rather, already is worth, monetarily speaking, so much more than any ad impression could ever be. But if they are like one of those people that accidentally watch your stuff while they're asleep, they get like 3 hours at once of you, which means that you're gonna be making a pretty penny out of that. Not to say that you guys should be putting me on while you're asleep, by the way, because like that, don't purposefully do that. That's a bit shitty to do. Mostly because it's like actual fraud. Well, I suppose it isn't, because you're not defrauding advertisers, because the whole point is that you're not getting ads. So maybe it's not that bad, actually. You're only stealing from YouTube, which has plenty of money. We don't care about that. Okay, so we have this hallway put in place now. I guess what we do now is the slope. Or a ramp, as it's called. Except it's turned 180 degrees around. Oh god, now we need to figure out how am I going to do this in a way that makes any sort of sense. This positioning isn't that hard to figure out. We just do that. But how do we... Oh, hold on. No. This position goes here. And I guess we just kind of count, right? Yes, I think that's just what we do. So this lines up. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's no big deal. We can just move you over. $11, right? So we just pull this down all the way, and then we just go 11 back up. YouTube is a complex beast. People who do YouTube as a prime source of income are crazy. Yeah, but it's fun. Seems highly unstable to me if you don't know the back end of it. I don't know. I think it can be pretty stable. If you like know how to run a business. Like a lot of people just gain success on YouTube and they're like, okay, cool. AdSense revenue. I make a disgusting amount of money because I have like 5 million viewers on every video. So just kind of like existing on AdSense revenue is all that I need to do. And as such, they suddenly rely on only AdSense revenue, which is insane. And that goes further than just AdSense revenue, right? Of course, you want to first diversify your like revenue streams, which is getting sponsors is great for the fact that they pay out a lot more money than YouTube AdSense does, but also because they are in some ways a lot more reliable, especially if you get up to a certain size, than YouTube AdSense does. Because YouTube AdSense, especially like in January, just kind of bottoms out in how much you make when there is some kind of like advertising scandal, whatever. Ad prices drop. Ad prices can just randomly drop for a bunch of reasons. With sponsorship implementations, you have a little less. Of course, you can have things like if you have certain VPN things as sponsors, and then turn out to like sell your data anyway. Like you'll want to drop that specific sponsor, but that's why you have multiple different sponsors to work with. So that's a bit of like diversifying your income, and then also like different ways of monetizing your audience. And I know that I'm like getting very businessy here, but Patreon is a good way of doing it. I have a Patreon, and people on there are there to support me, but also because I provide some value to them, which is the project files that I make available through Patreon. So it's a combination of both. Some people stick around because presumably they want to support me or they want to keep up to date with new content. And some people just dip in for a month and then leave again, which is like entirely within their right, and I wouldn't do anything different. But that's another, again, income source that you can monetize through your audience. And in such ways, you have like a bunch of ways that you can make that more stable. In the same way, just relying on YouTube's own subscription feed and like homepage feed to engage with, especially your most engaged audience members, which are also the people who are most likely to buy shit from you when you have something to sell them. It is also a little not amazing, right? You'll want to have the Discord, like I have. Like you want to have communication channels that you yourself own. Not that I own Discord, but like I have ownership over my communication to people within Discord. The most traditional version of such things is an email list, which is a little bit outdated at this point, but for some businesses it still works. So when taking all that together, like if you take a YouTube channel or YouTube channels, plural, sometimes even, as a business that you know how to monetize, I think it's a lot more stable than a lot of people might think. There's always going to be a certain factor of instability, but that is like the moment you decide to like be your own boss and run your own business, there's always going to be some instability to that and some risk. Like the only stable thing that you can do to make money is work for a gigantic corporation that has very little chance of going bankrupt. Like that's the most stable job you can get. Like anything going away from that is progressively less and less stable. With there being a gradient in there, of course, even as being self-employed, I do think that being a YouTuber as such is probably less stable than running like a hair salon or something like that. Right? Because people always have hair that they need to like do things to, but whatever. If it's anything like the YouTubers my kids watch, the real money is in toys, 1,000%. Like merchandise in general makes so much more money than YouTubing itself. It's like at some point, if I do get to a point where I do this full time, I do fully plan on making like a second channel talking about specifically this stuff. In traditional online advertising, like you pay to get an audience. I think a successful YouTube channel, you get paid to advertise to an audience. And that sounds a little like sleazy in a way, but that is the reality of things. Like you can double dip there. Is you get paid, you provide content, but that content in the end is advertising for your product. Anyway. Also, hello. Yes. And of course that product needs to be ethical. Don't do a Logan Paul. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11. No, 9, 10, 11. I was thinking I need to count up to 11. I think that's now appropriately sized. So yeah, again, sorry, but if like when I get talking about specifically this stuff, it's like you get me started on casting, man. It doesn't stop from there. I just fucking go off, and you have to wait until I'm done talking, which can take a while. Okay, from there we go 1, 2. Actually, I have a fucking better idea. We do 1, and then we go to 1,000, and we do 1. Okay, maybe we do 1. And there we fucking go. I don't like the fact that when I move the gizmo, my viewport doesn't move with it when I hold shift. Like it does with like normal movement. But anyway. Yeah, okay, again, so we do 1, and then we do 1,000. And then we move it in a little bit. But to get back on the idea is that, yeah, full-time YouTubing is kind of a, it's still a risky business, right? Like, I won't deny that. Which is why I'm not doing it full-time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Of course, along with the fact that at my size, it just doesn't make enough money to do full-time. But it does make enough money to say that as part of my job. And as such, it does like push me to actually do stuff even if I don't feel like it sometimes, which is good. Like I've gotten to the point where I can do this as a job, and even on like just weekdays, I don't feel as bad anymore. When I'm like, okay, today is a day where I'm going to like record and edit some videos for myself instead of like doing client work. Because it at this point legitimately is like just part of my job. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, that's the annoying part of this whole bit done. You know, if we ever get to the point where this does become lucrative enough to the point where I can do this full time, that does also mean that I can put a lot more time into the actual development of this game as well. Because a lot of the research I do for like making the videos is just making my game. And coming up with ideas for like what I would want to have as mechanics. And then making those and making videos about them. Like the whole inventory series and the dialogue series that's going to come after it as well, actually. Wait, what? How does that work? Oh, that's how that works. Okay, that makes sense. After the inventory series is done, I'm going to do a dialogue system series. Like both of those are not specifically for this game, but like I have an idea for a game that I want to make sometime in the future, like way in the future after this is done, like the next big project. And that's for those I developed, or for that I developed the dialogue and the inventory system. So very double dipping there. Again, I like being efficient with my time. And with all that, I accidentally made the entire hallway anyway today. It's been a slow day today. I can stream a little longer. It's fine. Just makes me happy to see people motivated to create. Yeah, me too. Which is like another part of why I love doing this stuff is as much as you get a bunch of angry idiots. That's not what I wanted to do. Like a bunch of angry idiots in videos like casting is okay, or you're allowed to use a ventic, like those videos that I made, which anybody who gets angry and goes into the comments of those videos, congratulations, you fell into my trap. If you really are angry and want me to fail on those videos, do not comment on them. Those videos are, as much as they are actual advice and actual tutorialization and actual like teachable moments, they are also engagement bait. Because rage bait works. I just have like some ethical standard to my rage bait where they do need to still include like useful information. But I engage in like purposeful rage bait, of course I do. Shit works. Anyway, as much as like those people are there and yeah, they do annoy me sometimes. Like for every one of those people I get to see a bunch of people being excited to learn and improve themselves, which is a million times more satisfying than it is frustrating to see those idiots. And when I say idiots, I don't mean people who don't know what they're doing. Like those are just people that are trying to learn. Idiots are people that think that they know while very clearly not knowing. And in that regard, I have reasonably thick skin, I would say. Like, if you're here to argue in bad faith, you just get blocked and you can go fuck yourself. Like, that's just how I deal with that. And that's not my problem. Not to say if you disagree that I do that, but if you like clearly arguing in bad faith, like I'm just not going to engage. Like you've given me your engagement, thanks. Now you can go fuck yourself. Programmers getting angry at other programmers with different tradition dating back to the 60s. Exactly. It's just fucking programmer things, right? It's just you need to do this one thing this one way, and like, man, the moment you fall into that trap, I think you either do not yet understand or have forgotten how programming works and what this is about. Because you have a bunch of different variables to consider. Timeline, cost, in like amount of people that it takes to make something. But also in like performance cost, in computing, or in memory, or in like maybe something does take more memory but less computing and less development time. So maybe that's worth it. Maybe something takes less memory but more computing time or more development time, but in the long term, maybe that's worth it. Like there's so much going on in any given decision as a programmer that on like a basic level you're just not aware of, and it doesn't matter for the most part. And to be very fair, we're developing games here. Unless you are developing a game engine, or you're developing a very high-end AAA game, for the most part, it doesn't matter for us. Because we're not running something that's going to be, like, making money or costing money on like a server farm, in which a 2% performance improvement can save hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like at that point, making it perform the very best it can is very much worth it. Having it perform 2% worse and be 50% faster to write for an indie game developer is 1,000% worth doing. I feel like a lot of people forget that. But that's also like specifically within Unreal, because you can tell that it's C++ programmers, right? You can tell that Unreal users, like when you talk about programming things, that they're C++ programmers, because C++ in general like has this issue with it, where its main upside is that it is ridiculously efficient if used well. And that is great, but then people like hyper focus on everything needing to be optimally efficient, which is just not always. Anyway, that's me going on a rant again. This is not the level that I wanted to be in. I wanted to take this door and move it over here. Wow, the Z depth, or well, the Y depth, I guess, of where this hallway ends up being. I'm sorry, I'm talking past my pop filter. Where this door ended up being is like exactly in line. Well, it's not that surprising. I made it to be in line, but still, just let me have my fun. This one isn't, but that's also fine. And with that, we have officially finished the block out. Not the lighting yet, but we'll take a look at that later. I'll probably do a lot of that off stream on my own time. But we've officially finished the block out stage of this entire dungeon, at least this version of it. And when test players go through it and rip me a new one, I'm gonna have to redo a lot of that stuff, but either way, this thing can go away. Man, this looks ugly as a block out, but it's fine. I guess we can make this one go down a little lower as well, now that we know the actual like size of this. Oh, let's do this in increments of 100 still, to make it look at least a little neat. I think that's all we need. Yes. So box size can be 1900 high. I think we can make this one a lot. Oh no, not that one. Well, this is fine for now. So with all that, everything connects up, and we can start going through an entire like test playthrough. There's a couple of things that definitely still do need to be fine-tuned. Like there's an issue with the analog input of the DualSense not getting clamped specifically. I probably want to try to implement support for DualShock 4. And I need to wait for my Steam page to be accepted anyway before I can start uploading stuff to it, I think. And I need to do some lighting. But then, I think, testing is in order. We can start doing some testing. And then a lot of time is going to be spent doing art. Once the testing is done, I mean, while people are playtesting this section of the game, I'm probably going to not move on to blocking out the next section quite yet. What I'm likely going to do next is I have an idea for an enemy in mind that I wanted to make for a while. We're probably going to make that. So we're going to spend a good bit of time in Blender, maybe ZBrush, probably just Blender. If Blender can take the poly counts that it requires, otherwise we'll move over to ZBrush if we need to. We'll probably be fine in Blender. And then a substance paints around like the entire thing. I might animate this one in Blender just for like a workflow experiment again. Because to be frank, the rigging in Blender is so much more straightforward and easy than it is in Unreal. Unreal has much more powerful rigging tools, which is kind of weird to say, but it does. But for just like making a set of gameplay animations, I don't think I need that. So that's what we'll probably be doing starting next week. I'm probably going to be starting the process of making a new enemy. And for a little bit of context, the idea that I have is based on the Kingdom Hearts Shadow, but more in the style of my game. So it's not as like Disney friendly. For anybody who doesn't know, Kingdom Hearts Shadow it's this guy. His main mechanic is the fact that he can like disappear into a puddle of shadow on the ground where he becomes like invincible. I want to take that mechanic, but instead of it being like this kind of dude, it's going to always have that pool of shadow under it, and it's going to be just the torso of like a zombie coming out of it, which can hide itself in the puddle of shadow underneath it. That's going to be the basic idea. So it's going to be an interesting thing to do, I think. It'll be fun. And it's going to like not hyper realistic, but it's going to be, of course, a little less cartoony than Kingdom Hearts Heartless are. It's going to be likely a little bit in the direction of this guy, but with a little bit more like muscle on the on the arms, I would say. And we'll see what we end up doing with it. I don't have anything very specific in mind yet, just like that general idea of like the shadow puddle with the zombie coming out of it. And I figure that is a type of enemy that works within this like catacomb area, but it's also a type of enemy that in lesser quantities would also work if I put it in other places in the game. And I think I also just need some more generic enemies that I can put in other places in the game, because every dungeon is going to have a couple of enemies that are unique to it. But I also need just a collection of a bunch of enemies that I can put anywhere that I want. Anyway, I'm rambling on. It's been a good one. And I will be back on Tuesday, probably getting started on a block out for that enemy model, which is going to be fun. Question mark.